politics, Charlie and Lance 2028. And the stuff I've got here, I got to talk about the U.S.-Iran deal and the G7 summit coming up this week. We've got the Strait of Hormuz and all that. We'll talk about the White House UFC fight, what's going on there, the numbers and the politics of all that. Talk about the Clarity Act like Lance was mentioning there, and especially obviously XRP and Ripple, as you can tell. And then we'll talk about the Washington state income tax, because that's kind of been going around. We've been
spicy.
And let's just crack right in. I just want to kind of go over some of these things. We can discuss what's going on. So June 4th, I believe, Congress passed some kind of war powers limitation thingy thing.
Oh, well, I haven't been paying attention to that flavor of politics, but enlighten me.
Well, just briefly, I think 5 Republicans crossed over to vote with the Democrats to limit basically what Trump could do. But it's all kind of moot now because Pakistan brokered this deal between Iran and the U.S. So June 3rd or whatever, War Powers Resolution passed by the House, directing President Trump to remove U.S. forces from hostilities against Iran unless Congress authorizes further military action. 4 Republicans crossed the aisle, including Thomas Massie, who just got voted out of Kentucky, Brian Fitzpatrick, Tom Barrett, Warren Davidson. So previously, they had been trying to do this, and all the previous attempts have failed. There was a 212 to 212 solid tie a little while ago. So this time, the war is now, 100 days old?
We passed that last week or something like that.
And Republicans started to feel the pressure from constituents, rising costs, all that. The Democrats specifically cited energy prices and things like that. The total cost of the war to this point are around $29 billion at least. Some projections say over $1 trillion. I don't know how you... That's kind of a big leap.
Yeah, all the logistics involved and the air bridges.
Totally.
For moving everything.
And more than 3,400 people killed in Iran, 13 U.S. service members. So gas and fertilizer prices have spiked. Elizabeth Warren, she said the cost to American families was approximately $750 per household. I think that's assuming the $29 billion number.
Yeah, I don't know if they're looking at the total employed workforce or if they're looking at the math it's coming from.
But this was a non-binding resolution, so nothing happened. The House used a concurrent resolution, which doesn't go to the president's desk, has no force of law. It's essentially just a letter, a strongly worded letter. We think you should stop.
Right.
Multiple outlets have said that even if the Senate passed a binding version, Trump would veto it. Why would you?
It's a loop. And also it's more so just for elected officials, most likely to at least go on record of where they stand.
Yeah.
Because constituency, obviously, a war is never a good thing. And eventually people get pissed off to the point where they're going to start calling or sending an email. And it's each constituent that voices their concerns, opinions, thoughts, that actually has a multiplier effect. One person probably represents, maybe 100 people out of that district or more. I'm not sure what the math breaks down on that, but, it doesn't have to be a 1-for-1 to have your voice actually be heard and have an impact.
Yeah. House Speaker Mike Johnson called it dangerous and untimely. He said that it would weaken the U.S. negotiating position while the peace talks were underway. And Trump, of course, called the 4 Republicans grandstanders and said the vote was unpatriotic, happening right in the middle of my final negotiations. So all that to say, Congress does this non-binding resolution, slap on the wrist, not even strongly worded letter. And ultimately, Congress does nothing to stop the war, despite all of this. And it's Pakistan that brokers the deal. And Iran, I don't know if you've seen any of this. Iran has been saying that they've contacted a couple clinical psychologists that specifically deal with elderly people to help negotiate with Trump.
That's fair.
They're we have to give him seemingly a win because he needs to protect his position as the president, but also
saving face.
We need him to stop, blowing up our shit. So, the war ended because of Pakistan, maybe ended. Israel was not at the negotiating table at all. Israel still has forces in Lebanon. They've been bombing the ever-loving shit out of Lebanon, which is crazy. They're like, oh, we got to get out Hezbollah. It's like, no, but they weren't involved in any of this. You're just doing this because you have the cover.
I mean, history teaches lessons, and, presidents have acted out with war power without the House, Congress, they just go and do stuff, send Marines in. I know there's a limit, it's supposed to be, I believe, 30 days. You're in and you're out, but the technology's changing. I know there was a lot of controversy during Obama's term when it was even Bush Jr. too, when they're using the Predator drones and the drone strikes. And there's some big headlines that came out of, oh, we accidentally bombed a wedding and a lot of people died. And we don't know for sure if there were enemy combatants there or if they were just people at a wedding and celebrating the wedding.
Oh, yeah.
So there's, all that stuff. Random vehicles being taken out on the roads.
So, this is kind of like, it's just an indicator to me that it's a broken system. If Congress is powerless, it's supposed to be a system of checks and balances. And obviously, like, okay, you elect a bunch of Republicans, they're going to vote for the leader of their party. They're not going to change. But even when some of them cross over and something is passed, it doesn't affect anything. That was 10 days ago, 12 days ago that this happened, and nothing really. But one little detail about that specific thing before we move on to everything else. The Pentagon's inspectors general launched a joint review of the war as the same day as the vote, because the War Powers Act gives the president 60 days of hostilities without congressional approval, which would have been May 1st. So the administration argues that the clock actually reset because Trump announced a ceasefire that never happened.
Is that why it was a lot of going back and forth of, well, we're going to do strikes, we're going to cancel strikes, we're doing peace, wait, we got to threaten again?
I mean, I'm sure that's probably part of it. It's also, Trump can manipulate the market in that way by...
Yeah, he's seated in high power,
Yeah.
It could be anyone with a voice, if they're just running their mouth and they're talking about, assets, global assets.
Yeah, we're hanging on the word of this, like anything he says, because it does actually affect people. Like
saying less is actually more. Mm-hmm. And that would have saved a lot of investors. Inflation would probably be a little different, maybe. Who knows? It's just speculation.
So, anyway, so the war powers resolution did nothing, and then the war continued for at least 12 days. Okay, so to the deal itself, Iran gets to keep its missile program and regional proxies. Those were explicitly excluded from any negotiations, not on the table. $24 billion in frozen Iranian assets are now going to be released over the next 2 months, half before talks begin, and then now. And then a $300 billion reconstruction plan for Iran presented by the U.S., as you mentioned.
I'm guessing Karg Island is going to be receiving a third of that $300 billion, because if you looked at the NASA heat maps, like they're saying, oh, we didn't strike any of the infrastructure, but I believe I know for sure there's been 2 articles of 2 separate waves of strikes that we did on Karg Island. I don't know if there's any more than that, but yeah, the satellite overlay of infrared and heat and all that good stuff shows that, where infrastructure was, there's now a big red heat spot right there. So I'm like, that's very expensive. That screws off everyone, it's just bad. Yeah.
And in return for all of this, $24 billion in frozen assets and the $300 billion reconstruction plan, Iran recommits to not developing nuclear weapons, which they already had under the Obama deal.
Yeah.
So the catch is here that Israel was not at the negotiating table at all, not a party to the deal, and Israel says its forces are going to remain in Lebanon indefinitely, which I think Iran was going to try and stop everything, but if they couldn't get Iran to even negotiate, what are you going to do?
Right. I mean, we have Pakistan. Aren't they the mediator for the peace deal and all that stuff? So.
They were the broker in between. So I don't know if just Israel just decided we're not going to negotiate with Pakistan. We're not going to talk to any of these. It was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
The president specifically called Netanyahu a very difficult guy. Very difficult guy. So, he's just like out and out refused. He's like, no. As to the Strait of Hormuz, it's going to reopen within 30 days under terms set by Iran. Trump says the ships are moving, but there's no movement. Like nothing's moved yet.
You could go on the public maps that track all the vessels that are moving around the world. It's it's pretty obvious.
And so now France and the UK are trying to jump on, like, oh yeah, we're helping, we did this. So they're gonna send ships and mine clearing experts.
Oh yeah,
specifically France does that.
Gotta get that political capital.
Yeah, exactly. So starting today, right, 15th in Evian, France, is the G7 summit, which is mostly now going to be talking about making sure that
doesn't happen.
Yeah.
At least this year, remainder of this year, the less than 5 months remaining of the year, or whatever, 5 months days, something, I don't know.
Something like that, yeah. Hold on 1 second. So June 4th, right after the War Powers thing passed, another act passed the House, which is the Ukraine Support Act, which is going to be another big thing at G7 this year, which is going to provide new military aid to Ukraine and fresh sanctions on Russia, and passed 226 to 195. 18 Republicans jumped across the aisle for this one.
Okay.
Are the Republicans, weren't they running on America First?
Well, I mean, it's one umbrella, but they have factions, just like
for sure,
side,
definitely, yeah.
So it's like, I know that one of their factions is concentrated on America First, right? I don't know about all the other people. Like, who knows where they stand?
For sure, I like the president ran on America First. That was a big thing, and
that's the big loud thing that we're being told to think about.
So this is the first package to pass since Trump returned to office. So, like, since January 2025, this is the first Ukraine aid package. Another $8 billion in military financing loans for Ukraine's defense operations, and 1.3 to 1.8 for direct security and reconstruction aid. And
so on that topic, that I've noticed over the years is that there's a big misconception that people are seeing and getting out of this war, is that every time we send money, right? Great.
Yeah.
And we want Ukrainians to not die and keep their infrastructure. But I see a lot of comments constantly saying that we're handing them cash, and then that cash is being filtered back into our political ecosystem to the Democrats. And it's like, I've seen zero credible evidence on that. But also, when we do issue these funds, it's going to our military industrial complex to produce things that will be shipped over there to be used in the war effort. Because, we can give them all the paper they want. That doesn't fight wars.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they get some cash, but it's not like the majority of the cash. Like, the majority of the cash goes into where Americans work and people that are working with visas that work here. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, definitely need to double check that always. Every single time there's a war, make sure you follow the money accurately.
Yeah. So this extends the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative through next year. It extends the Biden-era military lend-lease program, 500% tariffs on all Russian goods imported to the U.S., a ban on Russian crude oil imports to the U.S., sanctions on Russian banks, oil companies, mining industries, and government leaders, and penalties for any foreign entities that attempt to evade sanctions. Kind of the interesting thing here is that House Speaker Mike Johnson and the Republican leaders blocked this bill from coming to the floor. So the supporters of the bill had to use a discharge petition, a rare procedural tool that lets a majority force a vote. Between 2011 and 2022, only one discharge petition actually succeeded. So the final signature from Kevin Kiley, he caucuses Republican, he's independent. So in a single week, House passes a war powers resolution to stop the Iran war, and then they pass the Ukraine aid bill to help with the Ukraine war. And they're two big foreign policy kind of like reversals on Trump's position. They're like, Congress says no, but again, I mean, this is actually more consequential, I think, than the war powers resolution. Certainly going nowhere because it's just the House, because the Republicans control the Senate. It's unlikely that they're even going to take it up. Needs 60 votes in the Senate, and Trump can still veto it. So. Yeah, and I just see this like, this is, the Democrats obviously want to support Ukraine for whatever reason. Like you mentioned, who knows what that reason could be.
Well, the big corporations are there. There's a lot of data centers. Also, there's a lot of agricultural goods come out of there, a lot of chemicals. There was a lot of steel, allegedly. I don't know what the steel market was, but they had like the one main steel plant from the Soviet era, but that got destroyed.
Right.
It's, I believe, Microsoft, BlackRock. I don't know if Halliburton is in Ukraine, but the reason why we're helping Ukraine fight this battle is we don't want Russia to just come in and collect all of our USA-related corporate, stuff, be it manufacturing, data that they could use, who knows, blueprints. Like, are we just going to allow all of that to go into the hands of Russia? I mean, it would help the Russians. They would upgrade their technology. They'd bring maybe some people out of poverty, depending on, their oligarchy and all that fun stuff over there. But, it's definitely not America first.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
And it just seems like it's political cover for the Republicans that they can say at this point, oh, I voted for Ukraine, because 80% of voters, Americans voters support a Ukraine aid package of some kind, or just in general aid.
I remember when there's a certain type of missile that's being retired and phased out of the U.S. Army, and it was they called them short the nickname ATACMS, but the ATACMS, those things, I don't know, they go like 1,000 kilometers range or something like that. So it was like able to help the Ukrainians reach Russian missile launching sites or their anti-air related capabilities and stuff like that, or rain hellfire on barracks or whatever they need to do with them.
Yeah.
And I remember that being a huge, huge drama all over the internet. That is, we're giving Ukraine too much power and all this crap. But those missiles in the U.S. Army are being replaced with hypersonic 18-wheeler sized missiles. I mean, yeah, it's okay. I'm not really concerned about that old tech whatsoever. I mean, we're using lasers now.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just think, like, right now, Trump's has got historic low approval rating.
Yes, all that.
And so coming up to the midterms, probably going to see a lot of these seats switching as people vote against we'll see. Democrats come out to midterms, Republicans not so much. I don't know. It could happen. Big blue wave again. But who knows if that's going to mean anything. Anyway, so that's...
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Who knows?
Yeah, so Ukraine support is on the agenda at G7. And the other big thing they're going to be talking about besides Iran and Ukraine is AI governance and supply chain resilience, specifically critical minerals, reducing reliance on China. The United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Egypt, Saudi Arabia are invited as Middle East partners because they don't have a G7 member, I believe, but they just are there.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure there's other countries that get to be there, but not on the...
Yeah, they don't get to vote anything. So that's the world of global politics right now. That's what we got going on.
Just one last thing. I wonder if they're going to bring up blockchain during G7, because supply chain resilience, not only do you need the missiles, tanks, and aircraft, you also need to make sure everything's kind of on ledger so we know everything everywhere. But yeah, we'll see if blockchain's brought up.
So that segues nicely into the Lance topic that you were mentioning at the top, but we'll go through some points and again. But the Clarity Act is happening. What is the Clarity Act, Lance?
Oh, the Clarity Act, broadly and very sweetly put, is going to be the regulations for blockchain technology, crypto as we call it, the people call it. But I like blockchain better. It's more professional. So it's been in the legislature for 11 plus months now. I quote Senator Cynthia Lummis, who said that this is one of the most challenging acts they ever had to pass out of the Senate Banking Committee. That should really make you think. I like to always compare Clarity Act to the Telecoms Act of 96 or 97 when it was signed into law. That regulated the internet. It federally regulated and protected the internet. That's when the internet of information was unlocked for corporations to safely get in the water and join all the people that were using it for fun for the most part. Obviously, that led to the .com boom and bust. People that had done their research and put their money in the correct spots with the real fundamentals, well, they're probably still retired and their kids are retired today. So we're just basically witnessing the next generation of a massive opportunity in finance. Now, blockchain, the Clarity Act, crypto, all of that, that's essentially going to unlock the internet of value. As Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, CEO, has said that multiple times around the world at different conferences. Clarity Act will unlock blockchain for our corporations in this country to finally start investing. For example, the stock market today has like $120 trillion of value, somewhere in that range. Eventually, all of that value will be tokenized onto different blockchain rails. It's just a better way of record keeping, and all of this crypto and blockchain stuff is just upgraded encryption, because the NSA, by 2035, that's the deadline, everyone, literally everyone has to upgrade their encryption for everything we use that has data. Cell phones, tap to pay, your credit card, whatever it is. 2035, that's cutoff. So that's why we're starting to see this technology enter kind of the mainstream, if you will. We're going to see a lot more different things. Like, for years now, if all you sports fanatics out there that love watching sports, I know that you always see a blockchain related company sponsoring whatever sport event you're watching. That's just how it's been. Like, they've been kind of giving you the little nudge, a little spur in your behind to figure it out and start looking into this stuff, because it's just the next stage of technology. It's going to tie in with AI. Yeah, AI, everyone, we need to throttle AI. Okay, I agree. Let's throttle it by tying it in with blockchain. So every time AI is doing some type of computation, there is now a digital footprint for whichever AI model you're looking at, and you can go back and see everything that's going on with it. The only way you're really going to be able to do that is the high-level encryption software, and so far blockchain technology is the cream of the crop. There's nothing above that. I mean, we could speculate on quantum, but we're not just there yet. I think Google corporate put out a letter that 2029 seems like that's going to be the Q day. Quantum's going to show up. It might do something. It might not do something. The aliens could also show up. Who knows? We're going to be using the alien currency. But yeah, Clarity Act. It's just the rules of the road. It's going to weed out a lot of bad actors, a lot of the illicit funds and activity that happens in blockchain, which is actually a very, 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 very small percentage of blockchain transactions have to do with illicit activity, because as quote FBI and the U.S. Marshals have said, they prefer criminals to use, I'm not going to pick a specific, but they prefer them to use crypto over cold hard cash, because crypto will always leave a digital footprint. I don't care what chain you use. Yeah, it's just, cash is the ultimate form of committing crime.
Yeah, so Clarity Act stands for Digital Asset Market Clarity Act 2025, and it would basically classify digital assets and divide oversight between the SEC and the CFTC.
Yeah, there is a merging going on there, which is super awesome to see. What's also strange is that the Senate Agricultural Committee, also, they have power in blockchain technology.
Yeah.
Even though at the word agriculture, we think, corn and apples or whatever. But it ties in. I mean, an example with blockchain technology being used in the state of Washington. If you go on the Washington Beef Organization website, they use blockchain for each cattle that's born. It's essentially put on chain, and everything that happens with that cattle, its care, its medicine, probably even sleep habits, if they have like flock cameras watching them at this point, exactly what's going on with that cow from birth to the dinner plate, essentially. So it's just an example. I think basically, I don't know if they're using a decentralized chain or if it's just something they created in-house. Kind of irrelevant at the moment, but it's just an example of technology at the next stage already being implemented at our level.
Yeah. So on the politics side, the Clarity Act has passed the Senate Banking Committee 15-9 as of May.
Yes.
And needs 60 votes in the full Senate. And Galaxy Digital estimates a 60% chance of passing before August recess, which leaves 16 days of legislation now and then. Could happen after that. I'm not saying it won't.
Yeah. You know, the fun one I like to look at when it comes to the odds of, you know, this or that happening, for me, it's always Polymarket, just because like even politicians have even quoted it and stuff like that. People have literally in the military have done things to make certain bets happen. So they would make like $100,000 or something. Like Polymarket's on fire. I'm just curious what Polymarket Clarity Act says really quick.
Yeah. Analyst from TD Cohen warns that the odds could drop as the election intensifies.
That's what the Polymarket people say.
Okay. So yeah, Brad Garlinghouse says that 90% of crypto activity happens outside the U.S. because the rules are unclear right now. We don't know what's going on.
You want to know a fun fact about Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse? The only reason why it became a global monster is because there were no rules of the road within the United States financial system for them to thrive in. But other countries, China, well ahead. Man, China is smoking us, dude. Like, it's embarrassing, but here we are. Yeah, so Ripple grew global just simply because we didn't have rules. Everyone else had rules.
Yep.
Rules are good.
So Ripple just launched this AI starter kit for XRP Ledger. So AI agents that can make payments on the network.
I believe MasterCard's involved on that as well. So that's a very interesting thing because I believe most people use a Visa or MasterCard. So it's very interesting. It's on their main website too. Like that's the best part. We can actually go to the source.
Yeah. So Garlinghouse, he admits this is risky. He says he's not going to connect AI to his main bank account until protections are very clear and mature. But yeah, RLUSD launched about 18 months ago.
Yeah. They just added, I believe, Mexico on June 11th or June 10th. Mexico just finally launched a stablecoin on the XRPL network. Stablecoin 1-to-1 US dollar. But the best part, it's if you're going to have a stablecoin, it has to be backed by a full dollar. There's no fractional reserve banking allowed. That's illegal to the max. Like, it's just never going to happen unless they change the laws down the road. Laws are fluid. Things change.
Absolutely. So the Clarity Act itself isn't about AI, but Brad Garlinghouse is trying to push it so there are AI rules in place. He wants Congress to address both of these. And so, this kind of ties into the G7 talking about AI governance frameworks.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure they're going to, have some kind of relevance to.
Well, if you want to put AI on a leash, well, it has to have a leash that's at its level of technology. And if you go on like the World Economic Forum's website, they call it the Great Reset. It's just talking about technologies that will be implemented over the 21st century, essentially. Maybe a little, hopefully sooner. I don't want to miss out on some of this crazy change, but it's AI, blockchain, and quantum. There's probably going to be a trifecta there where they're all merged together at some point. Almost like balances of power in the digital age of whatever is about to happen. Kind of makes me think of the SpaceX IPO and how we have Starlink around the world. I mean, any blockchain can operate through one of those satellites. It's just needs the data to and from. So if everyone's able to, be connected, I think, we're almost there, but I'm sure there's probably 1 billion people or so on the planet that don't have a digital device that can connect to cellular access, probably.
Right.
I would imagine. I don't know ballpark range what it is. Maybe 1 billion people. So I still think that we're still trying to bring those people up into at least having a phone, so that essentially they now have a bank account. So then they can finally start buying chickens, selling eggs. Homegrown, make some money.
I forget what country it is. There's an African country where it's pretty underdeveloped. I think it's Nigeria.
Past decades, every time it's like they get a UNESCO help or aid of some sort, it's like it's mismanaged. Like you can find pictures of water infrastructure pipes there delivered but never touched. Like probably still on the pallets, if the pallets still exist after decades. Now it's not everywhere 100% like that. It's just, they need to kind of figure out some cohesion in the overall countries.
Yeah, so Nigeria has a interesting system where, because most people don't have bank accounts, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, NIBS, all their digital wallet accounts are just tied to a phone. So everybody has phones. that don't necessarily have bank accounts, but you can just send money to a phone number, and you just dial this code directly, and you can transfer money, or buy airtime on your phone. Pay your bills, everything right off your phone.
Good. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Very interesting. And it's like instant, so very cool.
Very nice. Very nice.
It's like their own. I don't know if it's a blockchain or how they.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's not just one. There's like, for example, Stellar, Lumens, XLM. I believe MoneyGram, the company, dropped Ripple XRP, and they went with Stellar XLM. So MoneyGram and Stellar, they got some partnership going on. I know that Stellar, their mission was to work in South America, Africa, Southeast Asia. Like, their focus is literally the least developed and underserved population of Earth.
Right.
But yeah, it's just an example I know off the top of my head.
Well, okay, that's quite a lot about the Clarity Act and money. So let's move on to another money topic and start talking about Washington's upcoming income tax. So this was signed into law March 30th by our Mr. Bob Ferguson, who used to be the Attorney General, right? And then he was...
I think.
And it's going to go into effect on January 1st, 2028. And so then the first returns will then be due 2029. So we got three years. And what it basically means is a 9.9% tax rate on income above $1 million an individual.
Do they... I haven't read the legislation, disclaimer, but I'm curious if that is on individual income, if you're employed or if you're a business owner, like if that's just the net income, is it gross income? Like either way, I mean, that's a large amount of money to make in 365 days.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you're a business owner, there are provisions for businesses that have a hell of a, operation cost. So whoever's taking home a paycheck, maybe they only make like $100,000 a year after everything's said and done in the tax year. So like I'm going to go through that legislation and double check that.
Yeah, because it says here individuals, so I imagine it's not counting a business that makes more than because.
Okay, so yeah,
but I mean, we will double do your research. We will double check all that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's money. It's always complicated.
And so that means a $1 million standard deduction per person, and married couples have a combined $1 million cap if their households making. So that affect, over $1 million is going to affect about 0.2% of Washington households, just the richest 0.2%. Any non-residents who work in Washington or have Washington source income must also pay it, which is just like if I was living in Oregon and working in Washington. It's the same thing.
Gotcha.
Professional athletes are taxed based on duty days in Washington, so days that they're either practicing or competing in Washington that they're getting paid for. They're only taxed for those days. So, but if you're an athlete making $17 million divided by how many days you're in Washington, who knows?
Right.
So where's that money going to go? 7% of that is going to local public defense funding. So I guess cops getting more.
Public defense make me think like public defenders.
Oh.
Because,
maybe,
you just, if you go to jail and you have to go on trial, you will get someone to represent you, right? Through the state or county or whatever. So, I mean, they don't make a lot of money, so they probably really need some funding because I wonder what the backlog is on crime and court-related stuff.
Yeah, good question. So the other 93% of that going to go to state general fund for sales tax relief, working families tax credit expansion, and the B&O tax relief. But this is all contingent on a constitutional amendment passing first, which is Washington's constitution currently prohibits a graduated income tax. So that's what people are out here gathering signatures for, is like vote no to change the amendment or to fix the amendment or whatever, to amend the Constitution to inhibit.
May I share the 3 stories of
please? I wish
interacting in person with people that were collecting signatures. Little intermission, you get to listen to Lance. So, ran into 3 people, maybe in the total past 2 weeks. They're outside of grocery stores, and they are collecting the signatures. One guy told me he gets paid $4 for each signature, but the same thing. It's almost like a script in my mind. I mean, three people saying the same thing when you kind of first interact with them. So first guy, it's about 2 weeks ago, he decided to tell me, yeah, this is, make sure we don't allow this to go through so that people making $1 million are then taxed. And I was like, okay, great. Like why? Like, what's the reason? And he said, once they sign this and it actually happens and it's enacted and all that, it's going to trickle down. So for the people that make $1 million a year as an individual, it'll go down to the people that make, probably the poverty line, like whatever the poverty line is in the state for income. So under 30K or however. And it's just that essentially is conspiratorial. I get the fear of it, but it's currently saying $1 million, not $30,000. And if that were to happen, I believe the state, the voters would lose their minds. I mean, if everyone had to pay a 9.8% wealth tax on 30 grand a year, flipping burgers and putting fries in the bag, which, no disrespect, I do that. I've been doing that for 6 years. Awesome. Part-time. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what the deal is, because the other two people recently in the past few days, they said the same thing. They said that if this gets passed and we start taxing the 0.2% of households in the state, then everyone's going to get taxed eventually. So it's a fear. I get it, but it shouldn't be right off the bat after interacting with these people that they're going to be telling you, hey, here's something to worry about. Like, we should be looking at what's on paper in front of us and currently in the legislature. And obviously, if that were to occur, that they want everyone to pay an income tax at some point in the future, well, wouldn't the voters decide to vote on people that are going to then amend that again and change that? Because people would be pissed. And, politicians, they like to sit elected in their public office forever and ever and ever because they make money. And here we are.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this to you the other day where I was just like, okay, I can kind of see the fear where if the richest get taxed and they're the job creators and they're the ones that decide the prices of things, okay, they're going to pass that cost on to you. But it's, it's individual. So it's not, at least according to this, and again, we'll double check that. But
sure. I don't even think that's a hard rule, though. That's just it's like a facade.
Yeah.
Kind of the wool over the eyes. Hey, trust us. We created the companies. We created all the money. And you can be employed and clock in forever. And it's going to be awesome. I created this. It's like, yeah, maybe you gave some jobs. But if you got to look at the bigger picture, I mean, look at inflation. It came in for May at 4.2%.
Yeah.
We deal with shrinkflation and inflation of prices. Like, eventually, yeah. I mean, yeah.
And just the other day, the president said, "Oh, we like inflation. Inflation's great.
Wealthy people love inflation."
Yeah, of course they do.
You know what I mean? Like, think about it.
Inflation is just
really hard to think about.
Inflation is just cost over time, just price over time. So they control that. They can say, "Oh, well, we don't need to take this $7 bajillion bonus." So we don't have to pay for that, so we can keep the prices low. But they just decide not to because they know they can squeeze us for everything we got.
Yeah, and then thinking of like the digital age of technology, I mean, some of the big chain stores out there have digital price tags for price surges that I don't know if there's going to be need a legislation or if companies are allowed a price surge right off the bat. I know like some of the delivery apps for food. Yep. And getting ride shares.
Absolutely.
There's price surges. So I wonder if I walk in the grocery store 7 days a week, if the prices are up and down, like the stock market, like, I better buy all my eggs on Monday and sell them on Friday. It's ridiculous, but, it seems like it might be headed that way.
Yeah. So for all the people that are like saying we got to vote against this, we got to vote down the income tax, show me the deed to the factory that you own. Like, why? You are not a millionaire or you're not a billionaire. Why are you caping so hard for them? Why? They make more money than you. You don't own the business. You are.
Now hear me out. Some people have families, right?
Sure.
That have a lot of money. But those people that are supporting the people with the money, they're protecting their families because their family probably, it's the old grandpa who has the millions and billions and trillions and quadrillions of dollars.
Sure.
And they're getting a little bit Maybe it's trust fund, maybe it's something else, maybe they're just giving them, money, buying them shit. Now, I get those people. They want to protect their family. They like that lifestyle, but at the same time, it's a lack of morality.
Yeah.
It's like, what about everyone else? Nah, fuck you. I got mine. It's,
exactly.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
So many people think they are this close to being a billionaire, and they're not going to like help anybody else. Why should I give $1 to the guy on the street? Why? It's like, share the wealth, like protect. Blessed are the poor, blah, blah, blah. We were talking about mega churches and Jesus and stuff like that. Like, they don't care. It's a cult of, I need as much money to protect me as possible because then I can save myself. It's like the world's collapsing in 10 years at least,
Yeah.
And there's such like an anti-tax mentality in this country. And in San Francisco a few months ago, they had a rally to protect billionaires, and they were being serious. They were unironically out in support of billionaires out in San Francisco. It's like, no, we need to protect the billionaires. They create the jobs. And it's like, okay, the creating jobs argument only lasts until the next layoff session. Like, it's...
We also have to look at the big picture too, the money, right? Like, you can create any job you want, but you have to always tie it back to the money. So right now, taxpayers pay over $1 trillion a surplus, or not surplus, but the interest of the national debt, which is close to $40 trillion. Treasury bonds are flooding back into our ecosystem because countries don't want to hold them anymore just because they can't trust us anymore. It's a very sad situation where people are still hyper concentrated on that little wedge of the whole pie. Like, look at the big picture, the money. I mean, there's no, we're going to protect the rich people and it's going to fix the whole blue whale in the room. Like, that's not happening.
Well, speaking of the money that the taxpayers are spending, let's get to our, maybe our last topic for right now. Our fun one. We got to talk about the White House UFC fight for Trump's beautiful birthday.
I must say that I love seeing Bud Light on the lawn of the White House. Bud Light.
Yep. Trump's 80th birthday and the first ever professional sporting event at the White House held on the South Lawn last night. And Lance, you said it was delayed?
Yeah, the weather, there was some weather impacts. I know that someone in air traffic or a pilot was saying that it was worse than any laser exposure event just because it's just like the sun is right there and on the lawn of the White House with all of the lights on. And they're just moving everywhere. So pilots, they had a problem with that. I believe that the final fight was around 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's sick.
Speaking of the lights, the structure that they had, it's called the Claw. It's actually Party Tent Beta is its official name. And it comes from the Netherlands, where it's used at this big festival every year called the Outer Wilds or something like that. That's a video game. I don't know. But
Gotta
Outer Lands? No, that's a video game too. So it was shipped over from the Netherlands, assembled by, and they had to add 80,000 pounds more weight just to make sure it wouldn't tumble.
The weather.
And so, $60 million cost to put this whole thing on, allegedly paid by the UFC. Not taxpayers. 4,300 invited guests and 85,000 expected at a nearby fan zone. Okay, so $60 million just to get everything in there, but just for the repairs to the grass on the South Lawn, $700,000 just to repair that after this huge, you got all these people in this giant tent and all this stuff going on.
As a taxpayer, why don't we just switch over to AstroTurf?
Yeah, might as well put a football field on the South Lawn.
They might need someone that's smart in that house. I don't know.
So he's already destroyed the ballroom.
The Rose Garden's done, right?
Yeah, it's gone.
And the East Wing for the ballroom. That's
East Wing's the ballroom.
Traditionally, all the ladies housed over on the East Wing. Traditionally.
Yeah.
I don't know modern day what they did with it.
Now, it used to be, now the East Wing was like the public area because the West Wing is legislative side where they deal with all the operations.
Gotcha.
And then East Wing, I think, was like that's where you could take a tour essentially.
Oh, okay.
Not anymore. So there was a lawsuit filed to stop the event. It was a Vietnam veteran and a civic activist citing Trump has financial ties to the UFC and to Dana White.
Yeah, his company that did the buildup, I think he has, he holds stock or something related to one of the corporations that were making this event, build out and happen.
Yeah, what a surprise.
Yeah. I'm shocked. Oh, another crazy thing about the fight is Trump's company, one of them that he owns, all the fighters were to be paid in crypto. This was, I believe, the headline was ran The Guardian. Is where I read it.
Only 16% of Americans thought it was an appropriate use of the White House, and around 1/3 of Republicans approved this, at all. Roughly 1/3 of Republicans polled.
So the super majority of people didn't want this to happen.
No.
Color of me surprised. Everyone I was talking to, there's one person that's like, "Oh, you're gonna watch the fight tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I gotta go."
So Marco Rubio, he called the UFC the definition of American soft diplomatic power, and he announced a public-private partnership to use the UFC as diplomacy. So we're gonna airdrop in UFC fighters to create American soft power. We're negotiating with Iran right now. The president is watching people punch each other on the lawn of the People's Palace, the White House, which is pretty much on brand for us at this point. Go ahead.
We should all have a watch party of Idiocracy.
Yeah,
dude, it's so relevant.
So this guy, I guess that's why he wanted to pass the deal. He's like, my birthday, get it done right now. But he spent his 80th birthday with Dana White, and the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. So priorities.
I brought this up with a coworker yesterday, actually, and so I brought up the fact. So Great Gatsby, the 19 Roaring 20s, and all the rich are partying and champagning and all this great stuff, and everyone's not rich, kind of like today, even back to what was it, George Washington's wife that said, let him eat cake, or essentially someone said that. I don't know if it's his wife. Thank you.
Marie Antoinette.
But let them eat cake, let them drink champagne, and let them watch the fight.
Yeah.
It's
the same
weird thing,
It's the same thing as, when Marie Antoinette said, she actually said, let them eat brioche.
There's enough sugar in it to be cake.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta sneeze. Hold on.
Got brush up on my history. Sorry, folks. A little rusty. Salut. Gesundheit.
So yeah, she was just so completely out of touch when she said that. She didn't. They're like, well, the peasants are revolting because they don't have enough bread. She said, let them eat bread. And her head got chopped off. But absolutely, it's a mix between that and bread and circuses, right? Where they can distract us with this dumb stuff, and we're just not focusing. It is dumb, and it should be called out that it's dumb, but we also have to say, what can we can't stop him. Us, you and me, we can't stop him personally from doing this kind of dumb shit.
I can complain as much as I want, but I'm at the point where it's I'm done complaining. It's we know stupid things are going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
It's definitely there's a more mature way to just, analyze it and figure it out. But
yeah,
I'll talk my shit when I talk my shit, but it's just here.
And it's whose mind are we changing at this point? If we're saying, hey, this was horrible, this was a really stupid thing that happened. Yeah, everybody knows, or most people know, or are aware of it. The people, there are people who are ignorant who just don't pay attention to politics or don't pay attention to pop culture or what's going on. They're just in their own little lane. But there's something about think about this stuff, understand these higher concepts, and then act within your community to do something about it, or try to. I don't know. We're expressing things back and forth here. We're just shooting the shit, but that also forges some understanding if you can talk to someone about it and say, hey, this is what I think.
So anyone right now, you can whip your phone out and you can look up what the average adult reading level is in the United States of America. And you can click on any of those top 10 websites. It's going to tell you it's probably under a high school level. Last I checked, it was around 7th grade is the average reading level for adults in this country. Now, I can't say it's causal for what the situation is currently. I mean, everyone's glued to the phones, the social media. We are a herd animal, essentially, that we like to listen to leaders tell us how to think, feel, react. Yeah, you know, a lot of people are busy with life, work, families, health, everything going on. Or they're just entertaining themselves, you know, whatever. It's just who has the time and the interest to really read through the terms and conditions of every single thing they sign up on, you know? If people aren't even doing that for the things they're financially signing up and binding themselves to, I doubt that they're really going to care that much about reading legislation, what's going on in the real political spectrum, essentially. It's been like that for decades, it feels like. And it's like either there's a lot of people that know what needs to happen for this country and the world overall to become a better place, and it's just a top-down power struggle, or there's something else at play. You could probably use all the U.S. Census Bureau data and probably still wouldn't be able to figure out what's causal and correlated as to why reality sucks right now. Yeah, to me, it's just it's like a public social experiment, essentially.
Absolutely.
And with all the algorithms and all that, like I've seen, and maybe you brought this up, that like younger people were saying that like the reason why social media is garbage is because older generations wrote the algorithms. But it's like if you look at these companies, it's a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds that are doing the coding. It's not a bunch of 60 plus.
It's true.
So we got, unfortunately, those people are pretty much retired, even though 10, 20 years ago, they were probably at the peak of their careers in writing the code and all that. And now the people that are picking up the reins and those job titles, they're going to continue it, but they're also going to tailor it towards the top down, what the company does to make money. We do this, make money. We write algo, write algo, make money. That's rinse, repeat.
I think it's literally, you're right. Like 20 and 30-year-olds are writing this, coding this and stuff. But yeah, I think it is like from the top down. It's like, how do we ring them for everything they got? TikTok Shop now does like some incredible, like over, I forget what it is, some crazy amount of in the billions of business each year among adults 18 to 29. 43% of them get their news from TikTok, and 49% of U.S. consumers now use TikTok as a search engine, which is up from 41%. And like, if you can't find something on Google, it used to be the thing you could you search it on YouTube or Reddit, but you can find somebody out there has it. But now it's TikTok has exploded. The top platforms for news in order: Facebook, number 1 for news. Instagram, which, I understand that. YouTube, and then Reddit. For Gen Z, specifically ages 18 to 27, 44% of them access news daily via social media platforms. 72% of them do so at least several times per week. And TikTok is the primary news source for 25 traditional news apps at 17%. And Instagram only accounts for 15% of 18 to 27.
You know what's interesting with all this social media is that there's a cost to authenticate who you are, so it's a genuine person behind that digital account.
Yeah.
There's always that paywall, so not everyone's going to be going through all the biometrics, giving out their personal information, and then out of nowhere, some of those accounts, 1 million plus subscribers, 1 million likes, all that stuff's happening, but it could just be a catfish.
Yeah. On media literacy in particular, kind of talking about that, 54% of U.S. adults failed a basic news literacy quiz, and seniors over 65, 68% of them struggle with digital verification. Literally what we were just talking about. Like they don't know. Lower income groups tend to have 30% lower media literacy scores. Do I have literacy scores? I can't even fucking read the word literacy. Rural demographics have 18% lower media literacy scores. Black Americans are 15% more vulnerable to targeted disinformation. Hispanic Americans, there's a 40% gap. I should say Latino Americans. 40% gap in fact-checking proficiency. LGBTQ plus youth have a 22% higher exposure to misinformation just because of the platforms that they're on and the algorithm. And immigrants have 19% lower media literacy assessments. But as to who's doing better, Gen Z 18 to 24 have 45% better rates at spotting fakes than older adults. 45% better at visual media literacy than boomers. Veterans tend to have 14% higher media literacy due to training. College graduates, 50% better at fake or at bias detection, so you can tend to tell. 64% of U.S. adults believe fake news causes confusion, which, yeah, I'm sure it does. And 64% of adults also say made-up news has caused significant confusion about current events. And because of AI, like you mentioned, trust is collapsing. 88% of people say AI-generated video tools have eroded their trust in news. 56 report seeing AI slop on social media often or very often. 83% of people see it at least sometimes. So it's all over the place. It's so much easier. And now that Sora has shut down, I think some of that's getting harder to find. But, you know, there's just going to be more tools that do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even when they regulate it and, you know, force the big AI companies to be transparent with their AI and all of that and log every computation that it does, just going to create a black market. It always does. It's just the way the world works. I mean,
yeah. 50% of Gen Z say they have already blocked, muted, or unfollowed accounts because content felt like AI slop, even if it wasn't.
Yeah.
And it's getting really hard to tell. 61% of elementary school educators that say that students struggle a lot to distinguish AI-generated content. In middle school, that goes down to 44%, and high school, 38%. So it does seem like we can train, we can teach people how to do this. But that's not helping people who aren't in school anymore or aren't training anymore or aren't learning anymore. So what are you going to do? More than half of U.S. states have enacted laws to advance media literacy education, but that's starting now. And again, it's younger kids. So we're planting the seeds so hopefully something changes. But the people who are in power right now are not, you know, they're old people. They're in their 80s.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's that saying that we're all children, you know? It's like, I'm in my mid-30s, and it's like, you know, you mentally, you're always going to be like a kid, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, you realize at certain points in life and all that, oh, yeah, you got to change. But it's like, end of day, people still, like, you know, when they're in their safe place, be it their home or their, you know, personal whatever space, they're going to be themselves. And it's typically like, you know, a younger, lighter self. But when you're around peers and stuff, I don't know. It kind of ties in with just everyone, the hive mind and stuff like that. Well, my friends think that and say that, and I like my friends, so I'm going to like their opinion. Not, you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of rare when a friend will challenge a friend just for the better good of the situation. So you don't want someone, you know, you wouldn't let your friend walk off a cliff blindfolded. At least, you know, you wouldn't be a friend if you did. So
yeah. I would hope so.
Right.
Unfortunately, the funding has not kept pace with these mandates. So these states are passing these mandates saying we need to do it. There's no funding going to schools are still losing money. And schools are expected to implement this media literacy instruction without any clear standards. It's not like they said, teach them this. They said, teach them media literacy and whatever it is. So it's not like a required like standalone class or anything, you know, it's up to whatever subject they're like, oh yeah, media literacy, we're just going to talk about it.
Man, that brings me back to college. We just need to make everyone do like an APA citation about, you know, what they want to talk about or believe or whatever, if they're going to be posting it. Because then it makes it really easy for the viewers to go, oh, okay, let's check this source out. Let's actually look at your credibility. You know, what's your credibility score essentially? But that takes a lot of work and it's kind of a pain in the ass. I don't know. MLA is a little faster. APA needs a little more information citation.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it's just, it all ties back to that. Like, hey, you know, for media literacy, we're not experts, but we're also not AI. We are real people. These are real opinions. So I don't know. If we see these numbers, we see the media literacy is cratering. Are we surprised to learn that, you know, people will believe anything and it's all just getting spread over and over again? It's easier than ever to create whatever you want, or you know, AI make it for you and just throw it on Instagram and like, I'm famous now.
The further we go back in decades, I think there's less distraction for people as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Attention. Oh, yeah. You can look up attention span averages. We're at like all-time low because people are flooding the brain with all of these whatever digital images, internet, blah, 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 blah.
Oh yeah, I notice it in myself. It's just anecdotally. It's just like it's.
Oh yeah,
There's always something. Like,
I'm on my Reddit streak of 751 days. My goal is to get 1,000 so I get my basement dweller status, and then there's nothing after that. But I'm going to continue my streak just because I can. But I'm on Reddit every day, and that's my digital drug, Reddit.
yeah,
I'm a Reddit maxi. I'm proud, but I think it has a little bit of everything. It's not nearly as chaotic and funny as some of the other ones like Instagram, TikTok. There's some crazy brain rot on there. That brain rot is top shelf. Reddit brain rot is not top shelf, but there are some good subs out there.
Oh, and it's kind of interesting because we talked about this briefly, I think, last time. But it's like Reddit has moderators. Reddit has people who are approving or denying posts or whatever, and that could be used to good ends or bad ends, depending on who it is.
The gatekeeper, the front man.
Yeah. So Instagram doesn't really have that. I mean, if it's obviously harmful, like
it'll be taken
really
down
sensitive
probably.
content, it'll be taken down. But and as we saw, sometimes the auto mods do not detect. There was a big outage maybe a year and a half ago or something like that when everybody was getting like gore and violence on their front page because the moderation just went down or whatever it was for a day.
That's wild.
So should we, like, Reddit is, that's ostensibly a good model that you have people who are there to keep that stuff from getting out.
But then also the flip side of that is maybe there is good information, but it goes against that personal individual's opinions and beliefs.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Double-edged sword.
Yeah, double-edged swords for sure. And TikTok is owned now. Who owns TikTok now?
Is it a U.S. entity? I know there's some like litigation going on regarding an acquisition or something from China to U.S.
Yeah, TikTok is majority owned by a U.S.-led joint venture called TikTok USDS Joint Venture LLC. Its original parent company retains a majority stake, but it's an investor consortium, 80.1%, a group of U.S. and foreign-backed investors. Oracle being one, Silver Lake, MGX, which is Abu Dhabi-based AI and technology investment fund. So ostensibly, they said that was for to protect from Chinese spying and whatever. ByteDance is a Chinese company, and I remember they had the CEO of ByteDance, and he's like, I'm from Malaysia, I'm not even Chinese, you're just being racist.
Yeah.
But is it, I don't know, it's like, is it really for the protection of the US, or is it because we want these corporations to be able to sell and run ads on TikTok? Money, follow the money. So that creates some conflict of interest too. Like most of the people are getting their news from this in some way or another, or using a search engine, and American-run companies can just post whatever they want and are controlling what you see. So
I mean, it's cool if the individual user can differentiate what's bullshit and what's real. And what is a mixture in between of real and bullshit.
And
that'd be cool, but I don't have a lot of faith that the majority of people are constantly doing a credibility check.
Yeah, and that's their argument, is that, they're adults, and so they can be trusted to make their own decisions. And if it's kids on there, then parents shouldn't be, it's all personal responsibility. It's never civic responsibility or the protecting our citizens. It's under the guise of protecting our citizens, but really it's like anybody can just post anything on there. We don't give a shit.
The UK, I believe, just passed legislation to prevent 16-year-olds and younger, or if you turn 16, you're allowed to get social media. And the whole point is so children get their childhood back. I mean, I'm lucky enough to be old enough to remember when people weren't hooked on social media and we were actually using sticks and rocks with our imagination and building forts.
Yeah.
And, mobbing around all day and coming home for food and something to drink and then, go to sleep.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah. And
I mean, we had more of a analog approach to being raised into computers. I mean, I remember like middle school, those days where they'd bring a cart of laptops in and we'd all do some laptop related activity.
Yeah, or go to the computer lab. And
only one school had a computer lab that I went to. All the other ones had to be laptops on wheels.
Learning how to control, delete, and get to task manager, and
Yeah.
You know, it's all stuff I still use today because I have my own computers. But like, what uses that is to a kid who just has a phone or an iPad. Like it's all built behind the shiny exterior.
Right, I just touch the screen and it works.
Yeah.
Why do I need to know how to do all that other stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that, maybe eventually desktop computers evolve as well and it becomes more simplified, because
Probably.
if the new generations don't know how to use this complicated stuff like a Windows computer, does that just mean that everything's going to be kind of oversimplified, where it's just, quick and easy?
I think it's all going to be oversimplified. It's going to be, something, a corporation is going to hand it out to you. It's going to basically operate like a big phone. If that, it probably will just be a big phone on a thing. Or
could even just be the AR related.
Yeah.
That's,
and you can only access the apps that you can download from their app store, just like Apple. And they're going to block certain ones because it's got suggestive material or whatever. You can't look at that.
it kind of gives you a hint of what the near future will look like.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you for watching. I hope some of that was of some interest. We are not news people. We are not pundits, but we just thought this was maybe some stuff that was important to bring up and we wanted to talk about. And, you can vote for us for president for 2028. That's Lance and Charlie 2028. You're probably going to have to write us in, but we appreciate it anyway. And, if there's any topics you want to let us know about, you can hit us up, internetpeople@atomicmail.io. But yeah, anyway, thanks guys, and see you in the next one.